Afternoon, everyone. My name is Stan McCracken, and I'm a retired lecturer from the Crown Family School of Social Work, Policy, and Practice, a U.S. Army veteran who served in Vietnam, and a board member of Lake County Veterans and Family Services Foundation. I'd first like to go over a few quick housekeeping notes from today's program. First of all, masks must be worn at all time unless speaking at the microphone or eating. It's just hard to eat through a mask. And we also have hand sanitizer at each of the table for your use. Before we begin the official program, though, I'd like to ask all that are able to rise for a moment of silence in memory of the University of Chicago graduate who was killed on Tuesday. Thank you. And now would you please remain standing for the posting of the colors by the UChicago's Army ROTC and playing of the national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you to the UChicago Army ROTC. I'd like to start by thanking all of the veterans, service members, and military and veteran families for their service to the country. As a Vietnam veteran who returned home to much less support and welcome from the community, it's reassuring and appreciated to see the work being done to support our nation's heroes at the University of Chicago. In 2011, the the University of Chicago commissioned a working group to address underrepresentation and lack of support for veterans and their families at U Chicago. Anisa Ali, and could you stand, Anisa, please? Spouse of an Army veteran who served with the 101st Airborne in Vietnam. And Anita Smith, Army veteran. Anita, could you stand? Are you here? Oh, Anita, thank you. It's good to see you. Both in attendance with us today. We're part of these initial working group. In 2018, under the Associate Provost Bridget Collier, the Office of Military Affiliated Communities was created as a university-wide resource and central home for the university's military affiliated work. This office was charged with increasing enrollment, amplifying programs, and supporting students, staff, faculty, and their respective families from the military and veteran community. In 2019, Terrell Odom, a U.S. Navy veteran, was hired as the inaugural leader for OMAC. And Terrell, could you raise your hand? Terrell, thank you. I believe that Anisa, Anita, Bridget, and others would agree that we didn't dream of the endless opportunities and accomplishments that OMAC has afforded the campus community. You will hear about many of these accomplishments from today's speakers, but first I would like for you to hear how the university's efforts to support the military affiliated community has impacted this community. Jack Lazebnik, Chicago Booth student, U.S. Army veteran and co-chair of the Booth Armed Forces Group, will now give remarks. Jack?
First, I'd like to recognize and thank the President, Provost, Dr. Odom, and other distinguished guests for attending today. As Stan so kindly mentioned, I started Booth in the summer of 2020, but that start was the new chapter that actually represents the end of my mission. Step by step, through the lens of a real world mission, I'm going to share a few chapters of some of my Army experiences. Through these experiences, you can begin to understand what goes into what was, for me, the most rewarding and challenging task of my life, leading Rangers in combat. Mission preparation starts long before you step off. Missions start with training in the United States. This training allows you to learn movement and communication with the people that you will eventually deploy with. My preparation started when I was a young 18-year-old reporting to West Point. On the first day, you make your bed with exacting specifications. There's a 12-inch fold with the sheets, hospital corners for the blankets, and yes, you do need to be able to bounce a quarter off the top. Why this daily habit? The detail in making a bed matters. If you can't execute a simple chore like making your bed on a daily basis, how could you possibly have the discipline to lead soldiers in combat? After you've prepared for your mission, you begin the infiltration. This may be in a truck, a helicopter, or airplane, but the feeling is the same. Your body armor is on, your radios are checked, and your ammunition is loaded. You see the lights of your safe outpost fade into the night, and you settle in for the ride. My most significant metaphorical infiltration came through assessing and selecting for special operations with the 75th Ranger Regiment. The weeks of intensive psychological testing, tests of physical endurance, and tactical skill were taxing. One night, as my team of 5 candidates carried 200 pounds of ammunition over the course of 20 miles, a cadre member so accurately stated, "Candidates, on the other side of suffering is greatness. There is no other way." As the helicopter descends, it is time to go on target. Night vision goggles are lowered, lights go out in the main cabin, and you conduct a final radio check where you hear the 30-second call. You feel the tug of your safety line as the helicopter touches down, the back ramp lowers, and you sprint off that ramp into the dark night with your brothers and sisters to your left and right. Drop the hammer, bring the pain, it's game time. When leading Rangers, you realize that true soldiers fight not because they hate what is in front of them, but because they love what is behind them. After you complete actions on the objective, you still have the most dangerous part of your mission remaining, the exfiltration. I am particularly fortunate that my own personal exfiltration from the military led me to the University of Chicago. Surrounded by fiercely intelligent and extremely talented peers and faculty, I've made deep connections, both veteran and non-veteran alike. The University of Chicago community has been the cornerstone of my transition. I cannot thank my friends at Booth and the greater University of Chicago ecosystem for their dedication to excellence. I'm humbled to be a part of this tight-knit community each and every day. Thank you so much. And next up, I'm pleased to introduce Nicholas O'Neill, who is a doctoral candidate in history at the University of Chicago, studying the emergence of capitalism in early modern Europe. His research has been supported by the Pat Tillman Foundation and Fulbright Commission, among others. Nicholas was an infantryman in the US Army, deploying to New Orleans following Hurricane Katrina, to the war in Afghanistan from 2006 to 2007. He has been actively involved in efforts to make higher education accessible to veterans through organizations such as Warrior Scholar Project, Peer Advisors for Veterans Education, and as an AmeriCorps Vista. Please welcome Nicholas O'Neill.
In 1926, the United States joined nations around the world in declaring a day of remembrance to mark the end of the First World War on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. Congress resolved that November 11th, Armistice Day, should be annually commemorated with thanksgiving and prayer and exercises designed to perpetuate peace through goodwill and mutual understanding. A day of reflection on that war, coupled with action to ensure its like would never be seen again. So strong was this commitment that over a decade later, on the 20th anniversary of the end of a war in which over 100,000 Americans joined 10 million others in the grave, Congress passed an act elevating Armistice Day to a federal holiday on par with Independence Day, a day dedicated to the cause of world peace. But memory is fleeting and commitment fickle. 15 years later, during which time another 500,000 young Americans joined at least 75 million dead worldwide in 2 major wars, President Eisenhower put forward a new act, embraced by Congress, to rename Armistice Day Veterans Day. He maintained the preservation of peace as the ostensible end of this day, but now called on Americans to pay tribute to the heroes, to pay appropriate homage to the veterans of all its wars who have contributed so much to the preservation of this nation by fighting, killing, dying, on the seas, in the air, and on foreign shores to preserve our heritage. 15 years further forward, as young Americans were once again dying alongside millions in distant lands, the holiday was amended again. By now, the fig leaf of remembrance and the commitment to peace had fluttered away, and Veterans Day had become a day officially designated to honor Americans who have gone to war. But to honor is to make honorable, admirable, estimable, desirable. To honor all those touched by war is to make war the font and source, the arbiter of honor. To honor only Americans touched by war is to make them martyrs and war itself the cause. A country that makes of war such an idol cannot help but be remade in its image, as warlike, abroad and at home. This year, as another war ends, let us take a moment to recall the original purpose of this day: to remember without memorializing, to commemorate without commending, to not content ourselves with facile bromides about duty and sacrifice, but commit ourselves to the perpetuation of peace through goodwill and mutual understanding, to carry with us the memory of all those who have suffered war in the eternal hope, however vain, that they may be the last. For, as Dalton Trumbo wrote of the legacy of war, here is the only issue before us, and that is, are you for this thing or are you against it? It is now my privilege to introduce University of Chicago Provost Ka-yi Lee. Provost Lee serves as the 14th Provost of the University of Chicago. She joined the university in 1998 as an assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry and was appointed full professor in 2008. She has served as the director of the Materials Research Science and Engineering Center, as associate director of the James Franck Institute, and has also served as vice provost for research, where she worked with deans, faculty, and researchers across the university to increase access to research funding, among other responsibilities. Provost Lee is the chair of the Faculty Advisory Board for the Hong Kong Jockey Club University of Chicago Academic Complex and the Francis and Rose Ewan campus in Hong Kong. Provost Lee has had a key role in the university's activities and partnerships there over the past 5 years, including the opening of the new facility. Provost Lee is also a true champion for the work being done to support the military-affiliated community on campus. Please join me in welcoming Provost Ka-yi Lee.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you all of you for joining us today to recognize the veterans of UChicago community. On behalf of the university, I want to thank our students, our faculty, and our staff, veterans, for their sacrifice and the commitment to keep our nations safe and uphold the values that we hold dear. The University of Chicago is distinct in that our deep commitment to vigorous inquiry demands multiple and often contrasting perspectives. The nature of how questions are asked and the perspectives are exchanged are often a function of diversity of experiences and outlooks of those participating. And in that regard, and in many others, our support for veterans and their families is not only meant to make us better by representing a unique set of skills and experiences, it is indeed germane to the core value of the institution. The university is committed to building a community and providing holistic support services for our veterans, while continuing to expand their presence on campus by recruiting new veterans to the university. At UChicago, the Office of Military Affiliated Communities, or OMAC if you've heard, leads our work on behalf of veterans, active service members, and military families. I would like to thank Bridget Collier, Associate Provost for Equal Opportunity Programs, and Terrell Odom, all the way at the back, the director of OMAC, for their work to advance the university's support of military-affiliated students, faculty, and staff. I also want to highlight a few initiatives and accomplishments of OMAC. OMAC has increased opportunity for the campus community to recognize, learn about, and support veterans. Unique programs raise awareness and honor the service of diverse community of veterans, including women and veterans who are members of the LGBTQ community. During Black History Month this year, OMAC hosted a new program to recognize African-American service members and veterans. We were honored to have Illinois Secretary of State and U.S. Army veteran Jesse White, and Cook County Criminal Court Judge and U.S. Marine Corps veteran Bill Hooks participate. In August, OMAC hosted a multi-day event to raise awareness of veterans and service-connected injuries and their impact on veterans, their families, and the caregivers. OMAC cultivate partners to advance research, education, and employment opportunity as well. The Robert R. McCormick Foundation has funded research and symposia to develop best practice and effective model to support student veterans transitioned into higher education and throughout their academic careers. The university, UChicago Medicine, and OMAC have also established a partnership with U.S. Army Medical Command to bring active duty physicians, nurses, and enlisted medics to maintain and sharpen their skill by working alongside our talented team of clinicians at UChicago Medicine. Just this past month, OMAC orchestrated a visit from the Surgeon General of the U.S. Army and Commanding General of the U.S. Army Medical Command, Scott Dingle, to the University Medical Center. OMAC also recently launched the Department of Defense SkillBridge program to provide work experience at the university to active duty service members. And earlier this year, Terry Odom was appointed as chair of the Advisory Council on Veterans Affairs by Mayor Lori Lightfoot. This appointment recognizes Terrell's notable service to the military-affiliated community and his local and national prominence as a leader. We are proud of his professional accomplishments and grateful for his leadership at the University of Chicago, as well as in the city of Chicago. I would also like to acknowledge the many other units across campus that support veterans through their work. The University of Chicago Veteran and Family Readiness Program and Children of U.S. Veteran Groups, both established OMAC, provide a network of support agencies and resources to family members of veterans. The college established the UChicago Veteran Scholars Initiative, a comprehensive program that provides customized admissions, pre-orientations, advising, housing, and resources to welcome and support the success of veterans in the college. Student organizations, including Veteran Scholars League, Law School Veterans, Booth Armed Forces Group, and Military-Affiliated Students of Harris, or MASH, offer activities, programs, and resources to support veterans on campus. Thanks to these groups and many other units and individuals who are committed to recognizing and supporting UChicago's veteran community. And I'm really proud to be part of this community at the University of Chicago. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Paul Alivisatos, President of the University of Chicago.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for this opportunity to be here with you today. It's a true privilege and honor for me to speak on behalf of the University of Chicago and to recognize all of the military-affiliated communities who are here at the university and all of you who are friends of the university who are here with us today, and all veterans on this special day. It's really an honor. And I was, as a youngster, caught up in the world of ideas very much. So it was kind of natural that I gravitated to this university where I was really able to learn how to think in the course of debate and back and forth. But as was described earlier, in those days, there weren't a lot of veterans on the campus. About 5 years after I had left the university and I had started a science career, I did have the very special experience that I was recruited to be part of a group of young scientists who had the opportunity to visit, and for me, the very first time ever, to visit all around various aspects of the armed forces to see how they operated, so that subsequently we could serve in a different capacity as advisors and helpers of the enterprise. And it was a complete, I can't tell you what that experience was like for me, because I got to see young people like Jack, who just described what it's like to prepare to go into combat. I had never seen anything like it. It was a different world. And I just came to have so much respect for it, to see the commitment to excellence, but also to core values, and how that really carried out through every aspect. It was really awe-inspiring and something that I admire so much. Now, I did also mention to you that the University of Chicago is a place of ideas, thinking, debate, but we're also reasonably smart people. And so we were able to understand at some point along the way, if it was 2011, fine, but at some point along the way, we figured out, hey, we could have amazing students like Jack and Nicholas here at this university. They belong here. They can enrich our community. They can be part of our world and enrich us in turn and make us a much better place. And indeed, that is what's happening every single day. I've met so many veterans here across the entire campus, in staff roles, in student roles, in every role on the campus. And everything that I just said about the ability to have core values, discipline, focus, and energy and creativity, all of it coming to the fore and seeing it in every way. So what an honor it is for us also to be able to say that we are now US News and World Report, which we all don't often like as a ranking system, but we'll take it in this case. You know, they have ranked us as the top home for veteran students, and we're thrilled to know that, and we're determined to be even much better at it. But there are now 112 undergraduate military affiliated students and 185 graduate military affiliated students from all branches of the services. And they're just extraordinary people, profound intellects and great members of our community. And we hope you will be great members of our community for life, and that you will help us to be strong in the many decades to come. All the academic divisions and professional schools at the university, and there are a lot of them. You know, this term, since I'm just back, I've come back after 40 years, a long time. It feels wonderful to be here. But the way I'm starting is by visiting all the schools and divisions and all the parts of the university, two a week for the full day, from morning to dinner. It's going to take me through the end of December to see them all. So they're amazing and they're astonishing in their variety. But all of them together, academic divisions and professional schools, support veterans by contributing scholarships towards the Department of Veteran Affairs Yellow Ribbon Matching Program, which I think is terrific. And one of the themes of my presidency will be the engaged University of Chicago. I mentioned to you that when I was a student, as is the case also still today, the university is a place of really, if you want to understand the why, you know, people here are going to dig in and push until we get as close to the truth as we know how to. That's what this place is all about. But it's also critical that the university be engaged, that it reach out, that it touch and connect with society. And of course, we can do that with the veterans that are here. That's part of it. That's part of being an engaged university, is to be involved in that way. But also we have to be great at partnering with others. And so I'm really excited to find out that we are partnering with the city of Chicago, with Cook County, and with many other organizations. And of course, today I want to particularly offer my thanks, as did Provost Lee just now, to the Robert R. McCormick Foundation, to the U.S. Army Medical Command, and the Jesse Brown VA Medical Center for ongoing partnership and support. OMAC is amazing. Terrell, OMAC is amazing, but I'm excited to see OMAC's innovative approach to combine business, public policy, law, social services, and social sciences to advance efforts with our local governments, community colleges, and judicial system. Another generous grant from the Robert R. McCormick Foundation. We have a unique research and educational opportunity in partnership with the Circuit Court of Cook County. Military affiliated students from the Harris School of Public Policy, the Social Sciences Division, the Crown Family School of Social Work, Policy and Practice, the Law School, and the Booth School of Business will advance the work of the Cook County Veterans Treatment Center. Along those lines, I do want to say, as we honor veterans and we have them in our thoughts today, we have to recognize that when people come back from their service, sometimes they have injuries and sometimes those are in their hearts. So those show up, and this is part of trying to heal those and bring people back. So I'm going to thank you all for your service, and I'm really glad that we're involved in these partnerships with you. And I'd like now also to introduce someone whom I just met, but who I think we will get to know each other quite well, Timothy Evans, the Chief Judge of the Circuit Court of Cook County, who will share more information about this exciting new partnership and the public-private philanthropic partnership we will have together to advance that cause. Timothy.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for that very kind and generous introduction. It's a pleasure to be here with you and with all of those who are participating in this marvelous event. An opportunity for us to pause long enough to thank the veterans for what they have done all over the world to protect those precious freedoms of ours that we cherish and we take full advantage of every day. And when I look out into this audience and I see many of those veterans, I hope they know how grateful we are for all of the work that they do and have done. Join me in giving them all a great round of applause right now. Unfortunately, in doing the work that the veterans do, many times they encounter problems that the president talked a little bit about when they come back home again. And we in the court here in Cook County see many of those veterans who are suffering from these problems ensnared in our criminal court system. And to make matters worse, they are struggling with underlying issues that often make it very difficult for them to overcome some of the problems that have brought them to our court in the first place. I'm talking about problems like PTSD or the cognitive interruptions that they have suffered, or the addictions that they have been unable to get away from. And we deal with those problems every day in our court system. But we don't do so blindly. And I want you to know that in the Circuit Court of Cook County, we have probably more than 400 judges, but at least 20 of the courts that these judges work in every day are problem-solving courts. These courts deal with the problems that I've just outlined, but they do it with healing as the bottom line, not punishment. And at least 6 of these 20 courts are veteran treatment courts. And yes, they are here in Chicago, but they are in every one of our suburbs throughout this county. And in those courts, we are able to help many of the veterans that we celebrate today. And as any chief judge would do, I brought some of my staff members who provide these services that I'm talking about, and they manage these problem-solving courts that I've described to you. They budget for them. They provide the experts to come and help these veterans that we celebrate today. And if I had it my way, I'd introduce each one by name, but I'm just going to ask them to stand up. And I'd like you to recognize them with a great round of applause. Would those from the Circuit Court of Cook County who work on these courts please stand and receive our acknowledgement? The president of this great university has already described the partnership that we embrace here this afternoon. And he went through some of the services that are coming from this university, being poured into these problem-solving courts, and particularly into the veterans courts where treatment takes place, so that they can get the legal assistance that they needed. They can find out about how to deal with their financial problems. They can deal with other issues that are so silent, so secretive, that we never hear about them until we read a newspaper article that talks about the suicide of one of those veterans. And so I want to take a moment to also thank this Dr. Terrell Odom that you've been hearing about all afternoon. He sought the furthest seat in the back that he could find so that he wouldn't have to take a bow. But there he is, next to that door, all the way in the back. And I'd like you to give him a great round of applause. Provost Lee already told me that Terrell is the reason why the University of Chicago is ranked #1, Mr. President, and he deserved that round of applause that he received. Working with him, of course, is this McCormick Foundation that you've heard a little bit about, and they also have an expert who deserves a great round of applause, and her name is Megan Everett. Would you mind standing, Megan, so we can recognize you? And I can't let you escape completely without hearing more about the Circuit Court of Cook County and some of the work that some of our judges do. The person that I'm going to introduce to you worked as a part of the triumvirate that we've been describing. His name is William Hooks. And Judge Hooks is a kind of Renaissance man at 26 in California. By that, I mean he has been a judge for about 13 years, working there in the criminal court, but he is the presiding judge of one of those veterans courts that I was telling you about. and he's going to come up and tell you a little bit about what they do. But I want you to know that his more direct boss is here, and he wouldn't want me to introduce him without recognizing her, and that's presiding judge Erica Reddick, and she's standing up now. This guy, Judge Bill Hooks, I've told you he's a Renaissance man, and he's a great judge, and he does some wonderful things there. But he's also a military man. He spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, and I've been sitting at that table hearing all about it all afternoon because he's proud of the work that he did there. He became a lieutenant colonel before retiring from there. And I just want you to know that just for fun, he likes to run marathon races, 26 miles all over the country. Please give a great round of applause to Judge William Hooks.
Thank you, Chief Judge Evans. It's a pleasure to be here. This is exciting. Those that know and have served in the military, all the branches, is a mosaic that protects this country 24 hours a day and in space now, and always in space, in case you didn't know. The mosaic is one that has three distinct holidays that people reflect on. Reflect on Armed Forces Day for those who still are in uniform. We reflect on Veterans Day for those who wear the uniform, used to wear the uniform. And we reflect on Memorial Day for those who died in uniform. A lot of folks don't understand those are three separate holidays, but they're intertwined. Unfortunately, we as Americans send young people over to face enemies that they never met, speaking languages they never heard. And we celebrate on the 4th of July and these other three holidays, but we forget that when they come back, we as a nation still have an obligation to be there for them. The Army Ranger talked about preparing to go into combat, and I've seen that before, not on his level. That's real. But the people that serve, whether they served in combat or whether they served in peacetime or whether they served at various agencies, civilian and military, they all have put their lives, their futures, and their families on the line for this country. But too often, the only time we hear about them is on the 4th, on the Veterans Day, on the Armed Forces Day, and Memorial Day. And it's this whole thing where, oh, congratulations for your service and all that. But what do we do for them in those moments where they are private and when they suffer? We don't do a lot as a country. We don't do a lot as a people for that. What we've got to do, like the University of Chicago is doing now, and Terrell Odom is a big push in getting this done, and the president, and the provost, and the McCormick Foundation. They have taken on a commitment to do more than the ceremonial side of the house. They've taken on a commitment to fill the gap. Marines, as Marines, we always call ourselves as the 911 force of America. That's not to make slight of the other branches. I spent time with the Army. I graduated from Army Intel School, INSCOM, the Army Security Agency. I spent time with the Navy, the Office of Naval Intelligence. I was the operations officer for the Naval Security Group, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and the head of the operations in Chicago as a law school student. The only branch I didn't serve in was the Air Force, but I had a brother who spent 27 years in the Air Force. So I feel like I kind of served in the Air Force. The mosaic of that is an interlocking field to protect those of us that have to go to sleep at night and don't have to worry about somebody invading from abroad. Allows me to go run down the street just for fun and not being chased. It allows all of us to sit here and break bread without worrying where the bread came from. So what I'm saying to the University of Chicago, McCormick Foundation, I appreciate Judge Evans, Presiding Judge Reddick, and her predecessor, Judge Martin, entrusting me with this court, is that some of these veterans will come back and they may have one too many DUI. And it becomes not a misdemeanor anymore, a felony. They may have used some narcotics or dangerous drugs, which we kind of put them in situations to go to when they came back. Some may have committed violent offenses. I can't have them in the veterans call because it's not what we do on that, but I can have them on another call. Because I have 500 other felony cases, but I can take into account their service to this country in the time of its most greatest need. And when was the most greatest need for the military? How about every day? How about right now? How about the fact that it never stops? Having worked in the intelligence community, as many of you in this room have done, you will know that every day overnight, friends and foe spy on us and do bad deeds to us. And in protection of that, we have to do certain things to keep a level playing field. At this point, I'd like for those veterans in this room to stand, please. Every veteran that's worn the uniform. Thank you. Give them a hand. Please stay standing. Now I'd like to have everybody that stay stand. Please stand. I'd like everybody who has a relative, friend, or acquaintance, or you have served veterans to please stand. Thank you. Give them a hand. Let me be seated. While I said Marines with their egos, we have small egos, but we say we're the 911 force of America, and I really mean that. Who do Marines call when they need help? Well, I hope that if they need help in their criminal justice system, they call us because we have the veterans courts that Judge Evans mentioned across this county. But if they don't, I don't want them to have to commit a crime to do that. So Terrell Odom and I have discussed having other programs for those veterans who are not in the criminal justice system. Because Terrell and I discussed, suppose somebody says they're doing all this for the veterans that are in trouble. What about the ones that are not in trouble? Terrell Odom is already on that too. So we have an answer for that. They don't get sent away. But I'll tell you who this Marine who happens to be a judge, or a judge who happens to be a Marine, called when he needed some 911 services for his veterans. What has not been mentioned, it may have been mentioned once, that Terrell Odom is a Navy corpsman by training. That means he is a person who delivers emergency services to Marines when they are in time of need. When I went through also basic school, the Navy corpsmen that went through had more decorations than the combat Marines that went through with me. Because they go in harm's way without weapons, they carry a medical bag, as many of you all do, and did recently in recent campaigns. They go in with medical bags, medical knowledge, and bravery beyond those of us that carry weapons. Their job is to go in when it is the worst for the Marines. When the Marines are catching lead from all over the place, when arms, hands, in some cases, all body parts are spread out, but you can save them. They go in, they do what they do, and they carry those Marines out. They either treat them there, they carry them out, or they make them whole. What this program is doing, this wedding between the Circuit Court of Cook County, McCormick Foundation, and each of you is doing, is that we're offering a service to all branches of the service when they are coming back in parts to live in civilian land. When they are homeless, just a couple of months ago, I had a veteran who was about 20 years younger than me, but he looked like he could have been my father, with a bad leg, who walked for about 8 miles to make my veterans call. When we found that out, we had to deal with that. I thanked him and apologized that he did that. We didn't have the resources to get him there at that time. As a judge, I can't give him money to go home, but I can give my deputy money to go get me a Coca-Cola, a big Coca-Cola, so he can do what he has to do to get back. This filling of the gap, this is what University of Chicago is going to do in McCormick. They're filling in the gap. When you have a line in front of you protecting your position, you have to fill those gaps. This is what this grant is going to do. It's going to fill the gaps so that those veterans who are homeless, those veterans who don't know where they're going to get that next meal, The veterans that don't have transportation, they don't have adequate medical, the VA does a good job, and I got a whole table of VA, but there are gaps. The Public Defender's Office, I have a dedicated public defender and state's attorney only for the veterans call. But there's things that they can't do, such as expungements, such as stealing records. The Mandel Legal Clinic, the University of Chicago, they're going to fill that gap. I'm excited by the fact that the social work department is going to provide some counseling that is more comprehensive than perhaps we ever anticipated. You don't know how powerful that is. I have veterans who have issues in terms of just the basic getting about in every way, physically, emotionally, medically, financially, educationally. This relationship with the University of Chicago and McCormick is going to be a deal changer. For all that, I'd like to thank each and every one of you here. I think we see wonderful possibilities in the future. And to Terrell Odom, he's that corpsman that came back for the whole crew that needed help. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Megan Everett. I am the director of the Veterans Program at the McCormick Foundation. And I'm a Navy veteran as well. Shipmate back there, good to see you. It's truly an honor to be here today and to work on this project. You guys have heard so much about it. I was scribbling down notes of what I was going to say while I was sitting at that table because I wasn't sure who was going to talk before me or what was going to be said, but this has been described so well. And we are honored and we come here with humility to be able to be a part of this important work. Provost Lee, President Alisados, I hope I said that right, I've been practicing. Chancellor Salgado, and Judge Hooks and Judge Evans, I'm so excited to work with you guys. We're not the funders that sit by the wayside. We get our hands dirty and we're really excited to do that with you. On behalf of the Robert R. McCormick Foundation and our president and CEO, Tim Knight, if you could just stand real quick or wave your hand. And Don Cook, who's sitting over here, a long time veteran supporter and ally. And our legacy, Colonel McCormick, who's made this all possible to be able to support and help the veterans of Illinois, whether you're a veteran that's coming back, as Judge Hooks so aptly put, that is fine, doesn't need the help, or one that's been involved in the criminal justice system and needs those extra supports. It's Colonel McCormick's legacy that allows us to do this really important work and help veterans that need it most. Before I move on, Terrell has been talked about so much, so I'm not going to talk about you anymore, shipmate. I got your back, but I really want to thank Associate Provost Bridget Collier. We started talking probably 2016, 17, before OMAC started. Really, it's been your vision. It's great to have somebody like Dr. Odom execute on it, but your partnership, your vision has truly brought University of Chicago to where it has with student veterans, the staff and faculty that are veterans, and really bringing your leadership along the journey. And this really couldn't be done without you. So thank you. Applause to her. She's really. So as I said, it's a privilege and honor to be here today and to support this very important work. The collaborative work across the university units is truly the gold standard. I work with a lot of different universities and colleges, and it really is the gold standard. As well as utilizing the resources, talent, and assets of this amazing institution to reach outside of your campus to help the veterans of our great city of Chicago. What an amazing opportunity for students and student veterans across so many disciplines to work and get true experiential learning while helping veterans in need. And that we have such an opportunity to work and make change at Cook County and the veteran treatment courts. we come, like I said, as partners to learn with you, to work alongside you. And it's really just an honor to be here and work with the University of Chicago and such a talented group of individuals. And I'm excited to get to know the folks of the Circuit Court even more. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our next speaker. None of this really could be done without the support of the Veterans Administration as well. It's such a crucial part of the puzzle. Rick Amon is the Medical Center Director of Jesse Brown VA, and he's been there since March 2020. What a time to take over. And he is also an Air Force veteran. His resume is extremely long, and his bio is extremely long, so I'm not going to go through it, but rather just welcome you to the stage and thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, Megan, for the kind words. My resume is long because I couldn't decide if I wanted to stay in the military or be a civilian, and because I could never hold a job, and because I changed professions while in the military 3 different times. I went in as a pilot, blew an eardrum in 3 weeks. They made me a federal agent and an intel officer while I got my master's in hospital administration. That's quite a diverse career. I got out after 6 years. After 30 years of being a private sector CEO, I came back to the VA. It's a calling, and every day I am honored to serve the veterans that served us. So I think I was put on the agenda today to be kind of a context guy. So my job is to talk a little bit about the context of the VA and why we're here today. So I echo everybody's comments that have made to this point. I'm very touched by the student veterans in the room. Your story about the discipline. We feel discipline every single day in the way we deliver healthcare. A lot of folks don't understand what it's like to deliver healthcare, but when you deliver healthcare to heroes, and about 1/3 of our employees are heroes themselves, it really makes you very humble. I've got staff that work directly with me. I have an executive assistant who was a combat medic 3 different times, and I have a son older than him. So this kind of puts everything in perspective when we're delivering healthcare. Veterans are an integral part of our nation's history, our workforce, our education system, our healthcare system, and so much more. After World War II, the increase of war veterans returning home prompted the US Congress to pass the Servicemen's Readjustment Act of 1944, the first GI Bill. This bill provided more impact to the American way of life than any other legislation prior to that since the Homestead Act of 1862. It established hospitals. It provided funding for veteran higher education and trade programs. It made low-interest mortgages available. It offered farming and small business loans and provided unemployment benefits for transitioning veterans. As a direct result of these benefits, 49% of college admissions in 1947 were veterans, and the face of Americans' workforce has forever changed since then. The new veteran workforce coming back from war were resilient, they were tenacious, they were motivated, and they wanted to get the job done. That's true today as well. Over time, and as America entered into additional military conflicts, the needs, challenges, and barriers of our veterans have changed. Many combat veterans return with service-connected injuries and illnesses, some seen, some unseen. They face homelessness. They struggle with housing and food insecurities. They struggle transitioning back into society, the workforce, and into higher education. The VA is tasked with addressing these ever-changing challenges faced by our veterans. However, the problem of this magnitude that includes so many social and economic factors can't be resolved without the innovation and collaboration of the public and private sectors, as well as institutions of higher education. In August of 2021, my Chief of Staff, Dr. Sarah Unterman, and our Suicide Prevention Coordinator, Jessica Hayes, presented at OMAC's Honoring the Hurt and Their Heroes program. And again, we thank you for that. It was a fantastic program. This 3-day event was co-hosted by several partners. to include the Robert J. McCormick Foundation and the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, to bring awareness to challenges faced by service-connected veterans, their caregivers, and their families. So many people don't understand that when a veteran comes back, they come back to a family, and that family has been forever changed. That family needs as much support as does the veteran. Jesse Brown VAMC also supports the Veterans Treatment Court via the Veterans Outreach Program, a formal program at Jesse Brown. These dedicated professionals perform an initial clinical assessment, provide treatment, and make social service recommendations and referrals. Then they act as case managers between the VA and other community providers. Now, through this new partnership, we are excited to welcome the academic inquiry and support from the University of Chicago's military-affiliated students. The addition of these scholars will help ensure that our veterans are receiving the best-in-class support to successfully integrate back into society. Now it's my pleasure to introduce somebody who I've only learned about recently, and I'm very honored to be the person who gets to introduce him. The City Colleges of Chicago Chancellor Juan Salgado. Please, come on. Chancellor Salgado has focused his career on improving education and economic opportunities for residents of low-income communities. As chancellor, he oversees Chicago's community college system, serving nearly 70,000 students across 7 colleges, 75% of whom are Black and or Hispanic. Chancellor Salgado has been recognized nationally for his work. He's a 2015 MacArthur Fellow, and he serves as a board member of the Obama Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Chancellor Juan Salgado.
I want to thank you, Director Ahmet, for the introduction. Thank President Ali Santos, who I know had to go, and the entire University of Chicago team, the philanthropic partners that are really core to this, and the Judge Evans too, and all of your team. Veterans Day is personal for me. My father is a Korean War veteran, and when I was listening this morning to, the story of how important discipline is in the military, but in life, I remember the moments where my dad made us make those beds in the precise way that he wanted them to be made every single morning, and checked us to make sure that we were ready for school in the precise way that we should be presented as we walked into that school. In understanding that to this day, he doesn't make a single donation to anything other than something that will support veterans when they come back. Okay. I used to run a nonprofit. He said, no, son, this is where my money goes, and this is why my money goes where it goes. And so, I think from my perspective, we need to obviously, and I run a community college system, and I'm going to share with you some of the work that we've been doing, but we need to do more, and we need to do much better. And for me, being present here today is about that. I can't stand to hear the stories that you shared, Judge Evans. It's wrong. It's got to change. And we all have to do something about that, right? And whatever we're doing today, it's not good enough. It's not good enough, right? But we ought to lift up what we are doing that's working as a model, right? For how we do more of what needs to be done in our society. And I just want to lift up, first of all, lift up what's happening here on the University of Chicago campus, right? And the incredible work that you all are doing to support military affiliated communities in pursuit of their education. And we are doing the same at City Colleges of Chicago. I want to tell you about, a few things that we're doing. We run a utilitarian military assistance program. It's called the UMAP program. It's housed at the Dawson Technical Institute, which is not far from here. It's run by an incredible team at Kennedy King College, led by an amazing leader who's here today, our president, Gregory Thomas. President Thomas, can you stand so people know who you are? President Thomas and his team, have been running this program that we launched, by the way, with the Utility Workers of America Union. And we've helped hundreds of veterans each year to earn a credential, move into full-time employment with People's Gas. And, I do want you to know that the program is very high performing, 92% completion, 93% placement rates, right? So, and this program is only available to veterans, only available to veterans, okay? We worked this out with People's Gas. And so what you see happening isn't just a program that prepares folks for a job, it's an entire set of supports that we have available at City Colleges of Chicago. By the way, not just at Kennedy King College, but also at all of our city colleges. At all of our city colleges, we have welcome centers for our veterans, safe places, housed, staffed by veterans themselves, to support our veterans. Beyond that, we have wellness centers to ensure that, any of the mental health challenges that might arise, are dealt with, or any other support mechanisms that particular individual, in this case, veterans would need, are tended to. That's what our wellness centers are all about. And we support them strongly, and we'll continue to support them well into the future. And so this is what our veterans get. Yes, in this program, but across City Colleges of Chicago programs. And I think as we think to the future of this work together, City Colleges has an incredibly important role to play here, one that we embrace, one that we welcome. I do want to take a moment to thank Terrell as well, because he actually was a part of our team, okay, before he came to University of Chicago. He actually worked at Dawson Technical Institute, at Kennedy King College. He was the person that worked directly with our veterans, made sure that the veterans in the UMAC program and other programs got connected to those services. And so I think, Terrell, you saw firsthand what City Colleges can do, right, for our veterans, with our veterans. And therefore, as we venture on to doing more and doing better, and doing so in a way that, as my father says, you've got to honor, you've got to dedicate, you've got to understand, okay? Truly spend time to understand the sacrifices that are being made by some for many, right? And those some don't always get the service in return. The service, these aren't my words, these are my Father's words. The service that has been given on behalf of us, return to them, right? And so I think what is inspiring for me today is that we are here today, a major university, one of the best universities we have in the United States of America, right here in Chicago, the University of Chicago. And we have a community college system, mighty, organized to serve and be open to anybody in our communities. A pathway to upward mobility and inclusivity, right? And Chief Judge, we have something special here with the courts that I think we can really make of Chicago and continue to make of Chicago that city we are proud of, and that city that our veterans will be welcomed and fully cared for. So thank you for the invitation today. Thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this effort. It's much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Provost Lee, President Alvisatos, Chief Judge Evans, Judge Hooks, Director Ament, and Chancellor Salgado for your continued support of the military-affiliated community. I would now like to ask Fleet White, third-year law student, U.S. Navy veteran, and president of the University of Chicago Law School Veterans to give remarks. Please welcome Fleet White.
Thank you so much. On behalf of the Law School Veterans Student Group here at the University of Chicago, I want to thank you all for joining us in this celebration of our nation's veterans. I also want to thank the President and the Provost, Chief Judge Evans, Judge Hooks, the Law School, the Office for Military Affiliated Communities, and the rest of the University of Chicago leadership for your support of student veterans. As president of the Law School Veterans, I had the honor to represent University of Chicago Law School students who are prior or current members of the armed forces of any country. My own experience with the University of Chicago, the Law School, and OMAC really demonstrates this school's commitment to student veterans. I attended United States Naval Academy and served as a submarine officer in the U.S. Navy for 7 years before attending the law school. And during my interview process, the law school admissions team, they really embrace my background as a veteran. They welcomed me into the Chicago community, and I think it's a large reason of why I'm here. And I'd also like to thank, of course, Terrell, who reached out to me before I arrived here at the law school. He helped me with my GI Bill benefits, with housing, and just generally introduced me to Chicago and the university community. As with probably many veterans here at UChicago, I eventually did run into some issues with the VA and my GI Bill benefits. And I just cannot thank Terrell and Joanne Creviston in the registrar's office and the law school financial aid office for absolutely working with me to make sure we corrected those problems and make sure that I received all the VA benefits that I had earned. And while I've been here at school, I've also had the chance to work with Terrell and several other students here as part of his Veteran Affairs Work Study program, which has just been great. And it just gives you the chance to kind of support veterans and families around campus. And I'm incredibly appreciative to the law school, Terrell, and the University of Chicago for supporting me and veterans like me throughout the campus. And in particular today, I really want to recognize the Veteran Restorative Justice Project that we've been talking about. Law students in particular will greatly benefit from this opportunity to participate in the Veteran Restorative Justice Project under the sponsorship of the Robert R. McCormick Foundation. And law school students will get the chance to work with the Cook County Veterans Treatment Court as part of a legal clinic where we'll get to hone our real world legal skills and help veterans in the process of their reintegration back into society. And I really think that exposing law students in particular to the Veterans Treatment Court and veterans advocacy generally is really going to help ensure that our future lawyers coming out of UChicago are committed to serving veterans throughout their careers. So thank you to Terrell. Thank you to the University of Chicago and the Robert R. McCormick Foundation for making this incredible legal clinic possible. And my next thing, I would like to introduce Zach Crayon. He's originally from Shelby, a small town in northern Ohio. Zach attended West Point. We'll forgive him for that. From 2008 to 2012, where he was on the track team. Upon graduation, Zach commissioned in the Army as an armor officer. And aside from deployment to Jordan to support counter-ISIS operations and associated humanitarian efforts, he spent the duration of his 6+ years of service stateside between Fort Benning in Georgia and Fort Bliss in El Paso. Since arriving at Harris, Zach has been active in the Institute of Politics. He's the co-chair of the Project on Political Reform, but most notably, he's the president and founder of MASH, which is the Military Affiliated Students of Harris. So let's welcome Zach. Thank you. Go Navy.
I feel like I should have shortened my bio a little bit. There was a lot of extra information no one cares about. I want to start by thanking all of you for coming today, for Terrell for putting on this event, the president, the provost, judges Evans and Hooks, and the multitude of people here supporting the veteran community. I didn't know all of this stuff was going on, and it's just really heartwarming to see how much the University of Chicago really does care, not in like words, but in deeds, for the veteran community. As Fleet mentioned, I started the Military Affiliated Students of Harris, MASH, alongside Vice President there, Eileen Donovan. So I want to brag about that really quick. Public policy students are a servant-minded group of people already, and vets are uniquely service-minded demographic that I thought we needed some sort of organization to bring more veterans into the public policy space. There's alternatives from Booth and the law school. Harris is a great place too. My first goal was to create a community for student vets, those affiliated with the military, and all who want to be active in this endeavor. We need a community of people here to support us as we're going through our transitions, because we're doing two. We're transitioning from the military to the civilian world, and we're transitioning from the civilian world to grad students. That's a lot to take on, especially if you're coming straight out. The second thing was engendering greater familiarity among Harris, in particular, our foreign colleagues with the military, the transition experience, and issues facing veterans that I'm just thrilled that the McCormick Foundation is taking such an active role in. And for our part at Harris, with helping create the policy that hopefully will make lasting change in the city and maybe beyond the borders of Cook County. Thrilled to be a part of that. And then finally, be ambassadors of our own networks and communities to make Harris the school of public policy that veterans go to. I want my peers and other folks leaving the military to know that Harris is the place for veterans to come and learn about public policy and continue their service to the greater good. But I would be remiss without mentioning Terrell for the millionth time. None of this would be possible without him and OMAC supporting this endeavor. We didn't have a student veteran organization, and before I got here and I was selecting among different schools to attend, Terrell was really the deciding factor, because not only did he convince me of all the different resources that were here at Chicago, but had a guiding hand in helping me create MASH from the ground up. OMAC's hosted countless events, has included us in many different things, and even helped us with our first happy hour last week, since we have been virtual since I started last year. And it's no surprise that University of Chicago is now the top school in the country. And I just can't give enough thanks to the university and OMAC for all the support that we've received, and am excited to continue contributing to the community where MASH can. Our next speaker has requested I keep this brief. It's Eric Snyder. He's a former Army medic in Special Operations Community. He's a second year at the college studying economics and is also an OMAC research associate.
So yeah, I had a amazing speech to regale you guys with that would go on, be discussed by scholars for hundreds of years. For the sake of time, I'm going to scrap that and keep my remarks brief. I was about 10 when 9/11 happened, so you can do the math there. It's defined my life, everything about it. It's the reason why I joined the military. I remember where I was when 9/11 happened, what I was thinking. I remember watching on TV. I remember writing in one of my classes that what I want to do with my life is fight Saddam Hussein and Taliban. It's a real story, actually happened. It's permeated throughout my life. Even now that I'm out, when we withdrew this past summer, I got calls from people I hadn't spoken to in years, asking me how I was doing, what my thoughts were, did I feel betrayed? I'll say, no, I don't. But it's defined my life for as long as I remember, and it's going to, throughout the rest of my life. So I get asked a lot, what is it like going back to school after all that at my age? 3 years ago, I was shivving in the Syrian desert, working with local militias, trying to figure out how they wanted to rebuild their country. Now I'm shivering on 57th Street, talking to 18-year-olds about their formal and rush events that I know nothing about. And honestly, it hasn't been that weird. There's a couple of reasons why, but particularly comes down to this idea that's similar to why I joined the Army. I joined the Army because I wanted to be the best and I wanted to work with the best. And it's the same mentality here at University of Chicago. The students, the faculty, no matter what they do, whether they're Nobel Prize winner or an 18-year-old that's never left their house, they want to be the best and they want to work with the best. And there's this sense of respect, first and foremost, but also this feeling of curiosity, critical inquiry. When I was sitting, I saw the crescent moon and Star of David side by side. I think that sums it up perfectly. UChicago strives to be a place where differing, if not completely polar opposite opinions can be explored and discussed in a respectful manner, in a manner of curiosity, not debate. So when I come here on campus, of course, you see, receding hairline and graying hair and beard walking to a class meant for 18-year-olds. Questions get asked. And of course, I'm going to tell I was a veteran. This isn't met as a spectacle, something novel that'll wear off. It's met with curiosity, with respect, a desire for critical inquiry. Of course, I'm a veteran. It's an integral part of my being, but it's not all that I am. First and foremost, as everyone else is here, I'm a scholar. I'm someone that desires to learn from the best and be with the best. And I think this sense of community, of respect, critical inquiry I've been talking so much about has been fostered particularly by my good friend, Dr. Terrell Odom, and the rest of OMAC, admissions, and everyone else who works here on this campus that have done so much to make this the #1 campus for military affiliated students. And before I introduce the next speaker, I will leave you all with one thing. This morning, I had a phone call with a friend of mine who still serves. And as many of you know, as global policy shifts, as the US softens its footprint overseas, as has happened many times in the past, cuts are coming. They're coming quick. What does that mean? That means veteran students are going to increase, and they're going to increase rapidly. So what we are all doing here now needs to continue being done and can't just be a one-off. We can't look back in 5 years and say, oh, that was neat what we did. It needs to be sustained. It needs to become a part of a culture, which I think University of Chicago is doing fantastically. So as time progresses, don't forget what we're doing here. Continue to make this campus and every campus willing and able to support the student veterans that are coming forward. Well, thank you all for being here. It's my great pleasure to introduce next Major Aline Donovan, who is a third-year Harris student and a pilot in the Marine Corps Reserves, flying bi-wing and tri-rotor helicopters, I believe. So close enough. But thank you all for coming, and happy Veterans Day.
Thanks, Eric, for that kind introduction. When I applied for the Evening Masters program here at Harris, I knew that I would be using my time in service and the GI Bill to pay my way and to help me succeed. What I did not know is how much I would be able to give back. Within literally an hour of receiving my acceptance call, I had my first, but certainly but not my last call from Doc Odom. He told me about OMAC, who he was, and his service background. Medevac pilots like myself and corpsmen have a very special bond, as Judge Hooks alluded to. So as soon as he told me he was a corpsman, I knew I was in great company and that I would be taken care of. Doc helped me find resources, get my GI Bill process, and connected me with Zach, our co-founder and president of BASH. He even drove all the way down to Beverly to drop off an OMAC Challenge coin with my father, who is a disabled veteran and Marine Corps pilot from Vietnam. Now, in normal times, this would seem like a small but kind gestures, but these were not normal times. I was an evening master's student conducting all of my courses via Zoom and had only set foot on campus once in my life. Being a member of OMAC and MASH made me feel connected to the university and in a very real way fulfilled my desires to be a part of something bigger than myself. One of the highlights of my time here at UChicago was last year's Veterans Day week, when we had a whole week's worth of programs highlighting the experiences of women veterans like myself, veterans with service-connected disabilities, LGBTQIA+ veterans, and veterans who had faced deportation. Seeing these panelists speak about their experiences with vulnerability to acknowledge the hardships as well as the high points of their service was a heartfelt experience for me. It speaks to the strength of the support of the community that the members of OMAC felt comfortable speaking in a public space about some of the hardest days of their lives. I was proud to be a part of those panels and the connections that we made to the entire UChicago community. I'm the only service member in my cohort at Harris, and at first I thought that perhaps I should downplay that part of my experience. When I met my classmates, I quickly realized that we were all from amazing but disparate backgrounds, so it served no purpose to hide my experiences. In one of our single-day current topic classes, our professor was a staff member at the Pearson Institute for Study and the Resolution of Global Conflicts. Our discussion that day was focused on the nature of conflict and how it can be informed by the use of data analysis and policy writing. Now, as a helicopter pilot, I thought I had hit the absolute jackpot as we started a conversation about how weather can impact military aviation operations and the activities of extremist networks. I realized that this was my life. This was my lived experience, and I had a wealth of experiential knowledge that I could bring to our discussion and help my classmates understand the real world applicability of that data analysis. I realized then that I was not just a military student at Harris. I was a UChicago student with experience and wisdom that was worthwhile and able to inform my academic career. Like everyone else, I would like to recognize Doc and all of my fellow service members here today. Whether you have served for 4 years or 24 years, stateside or around the world, we have all committed ourselves to the defense of the Constitution and our democracy, which may have been established in 1776, but has been protected and upheld every day and every hour since then. May our time here today strengthen our resolve to be active and informed citizens, ever vigilant in safeguarding the freedoms that we have received from the efforts of our brothers and sisters in arms, as well as those who gave what Lincoln so eloquently described as the last full measure of devotion. Even though Judge Hooks has already done this once, I will ask that all of the veterans and service members in the audience please stand and be recognized for your sacrifice to our great nation. And now I would also like to ask the family members of veterans and service members to join us. Thank you. I am the great-great-granddaughter of a prisoner of war. And so I now want to bring your attention to the small table in the center of the room. It is set for one and is designated to honor those service members who are missing in action and who are prisoners of war. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intention to respond to their country's call to arms. The single red rose displayed in a vase reminds us of the families and the loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon tied on the vase is reminiscent of the yellow ribbon worn upon the lapel of those who bear witness to their unyielding determination and to demand a proper accounting for our missing. The candle is lit, symbolizing the upward reach of their unconquerable spirit. A slice of lemon on the bread plate reminds us of their bitter fate. There is salt upon the table, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us today. And the chair is empty, for they are not here to join us. All of you who have served with them and called them comrade, who depended upon their might and their aid and relied upon them, for surely they have not forsaken you. Let us pause in remembrance. Until the day that they all come home to us, remember. As we close out our program today, we would like to thank several partners who have made UChicago's Veterans Day recognition a success. Our partners at iHouse, Denise Jorgens, Deb Jasinski, Hannah Barton, and Jocelyn Garcia. Their unwavering commitment to supporting military-affiliated students on campus is unparalleled, and we thank you for your continued support and the use of this beautiful space to host events. Our partners who will participate in the OMAC Veteran Restorative Justice Project, the Office of the Provost, the Crown Family School of Social Work, Policy, and Practice, the Law School, Chicago Booth, Harris School of Public Policy, the Social Sciences Division, and of course, Equal Opportunity Programs. So Bridget Collier, Scott Velasquez, Mitchell Kitlaus, and Terrell Odom, thank you. Thank you again to all of our student veteran speakers, President Alvasados, Provost Lee, Chief Judge Evans, Judge Hooks, Director Ament, Chancellor Juan Salgado, and Stan McCracken for supporting our veterans. A special thank you to Joanne Creviston, especially from myself, the VA certifying official of the university. Thank you. Thank you to all the brave service members and veterans for their sacrifices and our freedoms. And thank you for attending today's event.